Hi, Miss.
Hi, Stace.
And hello, listeners. Welcome to the Digestible Podcast, where we give you all the health and wellness information you need in an amount of time that your busy day can handle. And we make it easily digestible. Get it? So, Missy, you got straight hair today. Did you give
I
up?
do.
You gave up the summer curls?
I gave up the summer curls. They were so easy and fun. They were lovely, and the humidity was just like its best friend. But the humidity went away, and I was like, you know what? We're going to give straight a try. It's
Yeah.
nice to be able to go back and forth. I'm not going to lie. But winter, not so easy in the curls. So
All right. I liked the
might be
summer
straight.
curls.
Thanks. Me too. Okay. Well, I'm really excited about today, Stacey, because you taught me when I was learning about food the last few years, and you've been doing this for a long time. You explained to me why, for example, processed foods are so kind of hard on our body. It's our body's going, what is this? Is this food? What am I supposed to do with this? And it can maybe pull out some of the nutrients, but then your body also has to filter out the stuff that's really not helpful or useful. And whole foods are much better because, it's got all of the components that your body recognizes. And that's sort of the beautiful thing about whole food supplements, which we're going to talk about today with our guest, which is different than an isolate or a derivative of, of vitamins that most of us take. The whole food supplements, it's got all the stuff that you need for your body to go, I can use it. I know what to do with it. And so it's sort of a beautiful thing, and I'll explain the difference to us.
So, who's our guest?
Our guest today is Jack Dubois. Jack is part of the fourth generation of family leadership at Standard Process. He's a dedicated professional with a diverse background in agriculture and sales, and Jack has become a recognized expert in regenerative farming and crop development, playing a critical role in shaping the future of Standard Process certified organic farm. And so let's talk about what Standard Process is.
Yeah. And Jack is fabulous. I've been able to talk to him and with him many times, and he's always great. So impressive. Okay, so Standard Process was founded in 1929, almost going on 100 years here, by Dr. Royal Lee, who committed his life to advancing health through whole food nutrition. They apply a holistic approach to how they farm, manufacture, and protect the quality of their products. This comprehensive approach ensures that their nutritional supplements deliver complex nutrients as close to nature as possible. They are one of the very few supplement manufacturers that grows their own raw materials organically and sustainably. They use state-of-the-art processes to retain vital nutrients within their ingredients and are proud that both their farm and production facility are certified organic. Please enjoy this episode. Hi, Jack. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
We are so excited to have you here. So before we get into our questions, we should probably tell our listeners that Missy and I had the honor of being at your farm last summer for the most amazing couple days. I've never seen a farm that was so beautiful and facilities that were so immaculate. I mean,
Yes.
It really is quite a place. I can't imagine
Well,
there's other places like that.
And it was from start to finish, from the farm, which was you were growing your own ingredients, to you had scientific research going on in different plots. And then we went into the facilities where they manufactured them, and there were scientists that were working on all the different formulations, and then
The
the
biologists and the
thoughtfulness
chemists.
and the thoughtfulness into how you did everything from combining ingredients. And there's no shortcuts as far as health is concerned. It just felt like you could really trust that what you were providing and creating for people was real good quality, so we didn't have to worry later on that there was some additive or something we have to worry about, as
Yeah.
far as for health consequences.
I mean,
So
we
was
watched
amazing.
it. We watched it go from the farm
Yeah.
into the plant. It was crazy. Tell us about your supplements and why they are so different than anything else you will find on a store shelf.
Yeah, you guys kind of touched on, one of our big differentiators is the vertical integration. We really control everything from the soil that our crops are grown and our raw ingredients are grown in, all the way up to, the way that we dry them, the way that we tablet them, the bottles we use, and then the quality standards and testing and research that we do on it as well. So that's one of the big, really unique things about Standard Process is the vertical integration. Very few, if any, supplement companies, really have their own farms. And so it's really cool to be actually growing about 65 to 80% of the raw ingredient base in our standard process supplements. The other thing that makes us really unique is we're whole food based, right? And we're in an industry where, obviously malnutrition is a huge problem. Deficiencies are micronutrient deficiencies are a huge problem. And we're kind of masking that problem with a large use of synthetic nutrients, right? 98% of the nutritional supplement industry is synthetic. And so the unique thing about us is the foundation. We use some glandulars and some herbal therapy as well. But the foundation of our products is whole food. And so that is really the core of what we believe in, and what sets us apart is that we try to grow as many things as we can on our farm, and we try to concentrate these whole foods to provide the most nutrient-dense supplements possible.
So, Jack, you talked about using whole food supplements. Can you talk about why whole food supplements is different than, say, if I just go online and I order like vitamin D or magnesium as a supplement?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I think the simplest explanation for that is always the vitamin C example, right? And everybody's heard it, or you guys at least have heard it. It's the ascorbic acid versus vitamin C. And so ascorbic acid is the chemical that we've identified in the vitamin C complex that has been shown to have therapeutic effects, right? So we're in an industry where we're isolating nutrients and trying to provide them. The more is better, the US that we have here in America, right? That philosophy of more is better. And also an industry of how do we make things really cheap and effective in that way. And so what we've done is we've isolated things like ascorbic acid or other synthetic nutrients instead of providing these whole food complexes. So what's unique about whole foods is they don't just contain ascorbic acid, but they also have the bioflavonoid complexes, ascorbigen. They have the vitamin P, K, and J factors. They're in that whole food matrix, if you will, right? And so they have all the cofactors, enzymes, nutrients, minerals, all of those things that you actually need to use alongside the ascorbic acid to actually help it work and give that therapeutic effect in the body, improve bioavailability, and really deliver the supplement like nature intended, right? I think nature is kind of the best chemist, if you will. And it gave us these whole food compounds and these nutrients in a base of other things, the way that God and nature intended. So I think those are really that's really the difference with whole foods, is you're keeping that whole food matrix intact instead of isolating out just one chemical compound.
And how does that affect how our body recognizes the nutrients?
Yeah, sure. So we're actually doing, and you guys touched on the research as well. What's so cool is we're kind of the oldest company, right? We've been around 96 years. And so for a long time, we've been providing these whole foods. And a lot of our practitioners, we're a practitioner-based company. And a lot of our practitioners had to believe in the brand, right? Had to believe in the whole food philosophy before they started using it in practice and seeing the benefits. But now we have a lot of research that's coming out, and we just published a study a few years back on our it's called Easy Mag, and it's one of the first whole food forms of magnesium. Right, you're getting all of these isolates out there. Magnesium threonate, citrate, glycinate are some of the popular ones, and we actually compared our plant-based form compared to those three: threonate, citrate, and glycinate, and then the controlled diet as well. We showed that actually measuring magnesium levels in the cerebrospinal fluid, magnesium in the plant-based form crossed the blood-brain barrier more effectively than any other form of magnesium. So when you're giving the whole food, you can deliver it to places that are hard to reach, like the brain, and your body just knows what to do with it, how to accept it, and that it's safe to deliver it, right? And so in the whole food form, you're getting that free ionic magnesium, where any other isolate you have to actually break down and convert to free ionic magnesium. So it's already ready to go in the whole food form.
Tell our listeners where your magnesium comes from.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it comes from two crops. The two richest magnesium-containing crops on our farm happen to be buckwheat and Swiss chard. And so Easy Mag is really just it's 2/3 buckwheat and a third Swiss chard. Totally an organic formula. Entirely from our standard process farm. So it's one that we just get amazing reviews on, and people love it, and they know where that food is coming from in its entirety.
Okay, so if I'm taking the Easy Mag, which I do, I'm actually essentially like eating dried and encapsulated. Well, it's not encapsulated; it's coated, right?
Tablet.
Swiss chard and buckwheat.
Yeah, and actually, what's so cool is 6 tablets of Easy Mag equals a pound of green leafy vegetables.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So
a pound is a lot.
Right. That's
right?
one of those things I think people are like, oh, I don't want to take 6 pills, right? I'll take 3 in the morning, take 3 at night.
Yeah.
And when you think about it in that way, right? Well, I'm not eating a pound of green leafy vegetables in a day. So all of a sudden, taking 6 tablets seems like less of a feat when you can say, oh, okay, well, I could either eat a plate of food or I could take these 6 tablets, right? And so that's really the benefit.
Well, let me ask you, do you take them all at once, or do you take them throughout the day?
Okay. Well, I mean, I take a lot.
I love that you've got all of those different types, that they're bioavailable, so it's like your body's like, oh, it's food, rather than, oh, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? I have to convert it and I have to do all these things. This is like, oh yeah, it's food.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's actually
Amazing.
one of the biggest questions we get on Easy Mag specifically. Even from doctors, they'll ask, well, what form is it? Because we're so used to recognizing isolates that we don't even recognize the whole food form anymore. It's actually like a soup of different magnesiums that come from the soil, the crops, Swiss chard, and buckwheat. So
Beautiful.
So, and back in the day, you would just get enough magnesium from your plants that you were eating because the soil was rich, and that's why we're all deficient now. So how do you make sure that the vegetables that you're feeding us are nutrient rich?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I could probably talk about that the rest of this podcast. That's a great question. Yeah. So, our soil's been degrading, our food has been degraded, and we've been really using our soil and exploiting it, not treating it as the living system that it is. And so for well over 20 years, we've been regenerating our soil through things like cover cropping and crop rotation and things like that. Composting, we spread about 4.5 million pounds of compost on our soil every year.
And you make your own compost, don't you?
We do, yeah. So for buckwheat, for example, like when we juice that, we have the dried pulp material left over, and then we dry the juice to go into products like Easy Mag. So that dried pulp material is what we compost.
Nice.
So the regenerative agriculture piece of it, and I can dive a little bit deeper in that as we go throughout the show today, but that is really the foundation of making sure that we're growing nutrient-dense crops. You can have the best variety or the best breed of crop possible, but if your soil doesn't have the magnesium, right, those other nutrients, it's not going to be able to flourish. It has nothing to derive those nutrients from. And then we also we do something really unique on our farm that probably no other farm that I know of in the country does. And that is that our priority is nutritional value. So we're in an industry where farmers and seed breeders have been prioritizing yield for well over 100 years, right? And so we've been breeding crops for yield and high uniformity and things like that. And what we've seen is an increase in yield and a decrease in nutritional value. And so what we've done on our farm is actually sourced ancient varieties of grains like ancient oats, some different ancient varieties of buckwheat, and we've actually started getting back to some of those original varieties that are a lot more nutrient dense. So the short answer is, really looking at our soil and then trying to select crops not for yield, but for nutrient value.
Right. So for every calorie, there's more nutrients packed into that plant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing.
And it just
That's
comes
great.
back to that whole organic and regenerative is where all the nutrients lay.
Right. And
Absolutely.
then right. And because you have an organic farm and you farm regeneratively as well, you're not using chemical pesticides that can do things like destroy the microbiome of the soil, and also can make the plants weaker because they're not building up their natural defenses against pests. So you've got stronger plants and healthier soil because of that too. So that's amazing, right? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. No synthetic pesticide, herbicide, fungicide, no petroleum-based forms of fertilizer, no GMOs. We are 100% certified organic, and everything that we do on the Standard Process Farm is organic. So
That's great.
How did this all even come to be, right? Like like you guys are such like this original, one of a kind business. How did this all start?
Oh, good question. So my great uncle, back in the 1920s, he has a pretty rich story actually, and pretty much every supplement company, in the industry now can thank Dr. Roy Lee for the nutritional research that he really pioneered back in the 1920s. And so he was a pretty a significant individual. He started his notebook on nutrition when he was 12 years old. That was before the word vitamin was even in the dictionary. So
wow.
Yeah. And then when it did reach a dictionary, it was actually vitamin. But he really started studying nutritional research and making his own research before we were even looking at that, right? And this is around the times where we were advertising cigarettes as digestive aids, right? And we were beginning to bleach flour, right? And strip all the nutrients out of flour, right? And these are the things that he fought against. And ultimately lost, right? And here we are in a day where we're using and exposed to more toxins and stuff like that. But I could go down that rabbit hole. But so Dr. Lee, he was really a genius, and he grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, and he was always really passionate about farming. He ended up getting really into engineering. He came out with the very first variable speed governor motor, and he originally designed that for a dental drill. And so he went to dental school, he designed this drill, and he made all of his money actually making inventions of different kinds of things. So he had almost 70 different patents to his name. He ended up selling some of these off to GE and licensing through them and stuff like that. And so he made all of his money doing that, and he got back to his original passion, which was nutrition. And so in the late 1920s, his mother got sick, and she was living in Florida at the time. She was given 6 months to live. She moved back up to Wisconsin, and another doctor had confirmed she had 6 months to live. And so Dr. Lee made this whole food formula, a mix of glandulars and whole foods from the farm and things like that, the highest concentration of nutrients that he could put together. And she went on to live 12 years. And so that was the very start of Standard Process. And that was the first multivitamin, which was Catalin. And then he went out to really just formulate and study all of the original formulations back in the 1920s and 30s. And the business kind of took off from there.
Okay, you've mentioned something twice. I'm going to guess our audience isn't familiar with this. You said the word glandulars. Could you explain what that is?
Sure. Yeah. So we do we use a lot of animal products in our whole foods. So I guess along the lines of like feeds like, or like heals like. If your liver is in trouble, a good way of getting all the nutrients that the liver needs is by consuming liver, right? And so we have a lot of different concentrates from a broad spectrum of different glandulars from cattle, and that's what we concentrate down into various supplements. So I would say, we love to talk about the farm, we love to talk about whole foods. But I would say one of the biggest benefits in our line really are those glandular products, right? And those are what really make us unique as well. Actually, you see more and more people coming out with liver products and things like that. And it's funny, we've been doing that forever. And we made it through the whole, vegetarian era where nobody wanted any glandulars for 10 years or so. And so we made a whole bunch more vegetarian products. And now we're back to really liking glandulars. And so that's the benefit of having, over 300 different products. We really can appeal to a lot of different markets. And if you're vegetarian, we have products for you. If you like the glandulars, we have products for you. We've been doing it forever. And that's one of those things. We know we're just not getting liver is a great example, right? We're not eating liver anymore. And so it's a great way of getting it really in the supplements. And we have yeah, I won't dive too deep into that.
I know, because you actually, when on our tour, we asked about the sourcing, because you aren't raising your own animals, so you are really careful about where you get these animal organs from for your supplements, and there's a really strict process, I know, for
and
that
a lot
too.
of testing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great.
They're all USDA certified facilities across the U.S. that have veterinarians on staff that inspect the cattle. And all the glandulars that we get. Any desiccated glands that we have actually come from Argentina and New Zealand. So desiccated is the whole gland. So anything we're using the whole gland to put in a supplement, it comes from those two areas. They have a lot more grass-fed cattle over there. They have a lot better practices and things like that. So that's how but then we do rigorous in-house testing as well. So we're testing all of our product and making sure it's in the best shape.
And It's interesting because when you think of like the meat market in general, you don't really think about all of the parts that don't get utilized, right? And don't get eaten. And you guys are aware that all those glands really offer some health benefits. So like, what a great thing that those glands get actually used for something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we use really unique ones, right? I guess liver is a good example, but it's also one that is common across the industry. We offer different glandular extractions and formulas from the parotid gland, right? The pituitary gland, right? The thyroid, things like that. And so we have a lot of really unique, we have a broad spectrum of different glands in the body that we can support through our supplements.
I'm curious what you take every day.
Gosh. So I take a lot of protomorphogens, which are glandular supplements that are really unique. It's actually I won't dive into that super deep for this podcast, but I take a lot of glandular supplements first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and then take a lot of really foundational things every single day. The Easy Mag, right? Getting buckwheat and Swiss chard. I love a beet product of sorts, so ours would be like an AF beta food. That's typically something that I get every day. The fish oils, tuna omega or a cod liver oil every day. Those are some foundational ones. And then Cataplex B Core is one of my absolute favorites as an athlete, as someone that's very active, and as someone that's not getting liver in my diet every day. That's our richest liver containing supplement. And it's really the most potent source of the entire B complex. So Cataplex B Core is a foundational one. Usually like to take some sort of trace minerals, and then Catalin is foundational too. So those are just to start off with a few. Those are some of the most some of the ones I take every day for sure. And then my supplement protocol kind of changes based on a practitioner findings and what kind of state I'm going through currently.
So the Catalin was like the multivitamin, right? And you said trace minerals. I've been hearing a lot about people taking trace minerals these days. What are those?
Yeah, so they are they're minerals from the soil, right? We get ours. Here's a unique story to incorporate back into the farm, right? We use crops like alfalfa that has a really deep taproot that are able to draw some of these trace minerals from deeper parts of the soil. But there's some of those minerals that you don't need as much of, right? You need more trace amounts of them, but very foundational for health. So those are ways that we use kind of our crops to derive them in the whole food form, and very, very impactful.
What's coming next?
Well, one of the new things right now that just came out is a whole food folate. So there's a lot of talk about folic acid and then methylated B vitamins as well, right? Gary Brecka has done a lot on everybody needs a methylated vitamin. And I guess our answer to that is the whole food forms have always contained the methyl vitamins, right? And so, yes, people are struggling with folic acid, and the answer has been a synthetic methylfolate supplement up until now, where we have the whole food folate. So we have a new product called Whole Food Folate, and it's a mix of golden chlorella, which is an microalgae, and then turnips and collard greens from the Standard Process Farm, which are both rich in methylfolate and formal folate. So they don't have to be converted in the body like folic acid would be. They're ready to go in the whole food form of that methylfolate.
So when something's methylated, it's typically just in the form that our bodies can absorb better. Isn't that correct?
Yep. Okay. But that's done, for the most part, it's done synthetically. And that's where the whole foods also contain the methyl forms of these compounds as well, in just a lower amount from a label claim standpoint, but then they also are combined with the other vitamins, minerals, and cofactors that are needed for absorption.
So once again, like, our body recognizes and utilizes nutrients better when it comes from a food source.
Right.
Which brings us back to the whole thing. Like, everyone wants to just eat healthier so they can get all their nutrients, but you can't get all your nutrients from your food because of the way our crops are farmed. And so this brings us back to Standard Process, who is farming, with the best practices around and giving us whole food supplements that our body recognizes, and we don't need added, synthetic ingredients for our body to understand what we're putting in there.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I don't think people think about that. I think I've had a couple of conversations with people where I'm like, well, if you take it this way, like, your body has to convert it a couple different times. And I think that that's probably normal, that people are like, oh, I just take this vitamin C and it goes to my body to be an antioxidant. But, like, have you ever really thought about what happens when it gets into your body and then be recognized and transformed a bunch of different ways before it can even go to where it's supposed to go to do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. I think the other thing that's cool with whole foods is you're never just doing one thing, right? And like when we put a magnesium supplement out there, right, Easy Mag, or we're just talking about the whole food folate, right? They're called a folate or a magnesium product, but the vast benefits of the different things that you're getting, like, you're not just getting magnesium, you're getting potassium as well. So it's really a whole food electrolyte in a tablet, even though we're calling it magnesium. You're getting all those bioflavonoids, those phytonutrients, the vitamin C from buckwheat. You're getting all of those different minerals that the plants uptake. And so the other side effects of that is a plethora of other health benefits, right? And with the whole food folate as well, these are cruciferous vegetables, right? They're used for detoxification, a lot of great phytonutrients there for gut health and things like that. And yet we're calling it a folate supplement. So the side effects of whole food supplements are just other health benefits, right? And that's the beautiful thing, I think, when you're giving the body something that it needs, right, in the food form, you don't even know the broad spectrum of different things and opportunities for healing.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. That's so nice to know.
I do find that people look at the label, the Standard Process label, and they get a little confused, because if they're coming in for magnesium and they're picking up the magnesium glycinate and they're like, okay, it's 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate for one capsule. And they look at the Easy Mag label and I can't remember what the dose is, but it's different. And so you have
70 milligrams.
Thank you. And you have to explain to them, like, it's not the same, but they don't get it. So how would you explain that to them?
Yeah, magnesium's, I think, one of the greatest examples, because we've done that research to directly compare it with more potent synthetics, and showing that, the body actually recognizes it as that free ionic form. So actually, in the world of more people being aware of methylated vitamins, that's kind of a good, parallel to it, right? In saying that it's in the active form, right? And so you're actually going to be able to absorb what's there. If you're giving 500 milligrams of ascorbic acid, right, your body's only going to absorb X amount, right? And then it might even absorb less if it's not provided with all those other nutrients that are needed to actually mobilize and use and absorb that ascorbic acid. So magnesium is the greatest one, I think, to really use as an example. Like, oh, they've actually done the research to show that this is more potent, right? There's a label potency and there's actual potency, right? Is it working in your body? Anybody can isolate something and put 10,000% of your RDA on a bottle, but how much are you actually using, right? Or is it just, expensive urine, as they say? So the other thing that I'd like to point out too is, nobody seems to think, is 10,000% of my recommended daily allowance good for me or not, right?
Exactly.
We live in this world where more is better, but that can be disruptive in a lot of cases, especially in fat-soluble vitamins where, they're not just water-soluble. You can't just, pee them out and go on with your day. And so those can actually be harmful as well in really, really high doses. And so I would say, you want closer to that like 100% a daily value, right? You want to, be primarily making those lifestyle changes too, in where you're getting most of these nutrients from your food. So does that help?
I was going to say, it sounds like when you take a whole food supplement, the likelihood is whatever is in there is bioavailable, like 100%, because it's got all of the complementary factors in there that you get in whole food that your body recognizes and then carts all of those things into your cells and all the places it needs to go. Where if you see an isolated supplement, which you'd get if you just bought a bottle of vitamin C, that 100% or 150% or 2000% isn't necessarily reflective of what your body is absorbing, because it doesn't necessarily have all those complementary components that a whole food supplement has.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The other thing, and I'm hesitant to go there because I don't want to offend anybody, but I mentioned that 98% of vitamins on the market are derived from synthetic nutrients. Some of the most popular, then they label it cyanocobalamin or whatever, right? But most of these are derived from petroleum, coal tar, formaldehyde. Those are the compounds that they're deriving these things from. Again, we're back to the petroleum answer, right? So we're degrading our soil, then we're spreading petroleum over the top because the crops can't get enough nitrogen from the soil anymore. And then we're suffering from that. And the answer in most cases is, here's a petroleum-based supplement, right? I think it's really, something that it's sad to see because, people don't know that that's where a lot of the synthetic nutrients are derived either. And so really providing them with the whole foods. Now, I don't know if you always want to go that route because it can be a sensitive topic, but
another reason to be buying whole food supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's typically how I explain it. And then I explain like the ascorbic acid versus vitamin C. Those are some of the examples that I use to really, communicate the whole food philosophy and the Easy Mag study.
Right. Yeah. And then the tablets and things that you manufacture are usually coated in things like, wasn't there one with like honey?
It's a binder.
Yeah.
It just
binds the binders. So you're not using synthetic binders. You're using actually food binders, like things that actually your body recognizes as food, so that if you need to bind or coat or whatever, it's in actual food.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anywhere we can, we use natural binders and excipients. Like our new whole food folate is those 3 ingredients I mentioned earlier: the golden chlorella, turnips, and collard greens. And then the only other ingredient that we include is honey. And we're very transparent with our labels as well. Certain companies, if it's below a certain amount, then they don't have to label it. We're very transparent where we label everything. So that is what you get on our labels is what you get. And that's really cool. We have really unique manufacturing techniques where we can use things like what's called a fluid bed, where we blow a bunch of powder up into a chamber that goes through the ceiling. It's about 2 stories tall. We infuse the chamber with honey, and it coats all the granules. So when it comes out, it's just this powder that's coated with honey, and then we stamp it into a tablet, and there you go.
Yeah, the technology in your factory is insane. It is so cool.
It really is. And I've never been anywhere that was as clean as
yeah.
I mean, literally, I've never seen anything like it. And I think going back to the honey, which some of your equipment is just super cool. But people don't think about the fact that when they're taking tablets of any kind, even their medications, that they have to be, bound to something. It's not just the ingredient that they're taking, right? You've got fillers and binders and all of these things that go in capsules and are part of tablets. And if you're taking that every day or multiple times a day, are you really considering all the ingredients that are getting inside your body in addition to that main ingredient that you're looking for?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We actually have an initiative right now too, on the farm, we're actually looking into different crops that could potentially be like whole food fillers. So that's kind of a cool
Awesome.
initiative that we're working on, and just the ability of having our own farm, we can kind of do those kinds of projects that are really kind of unique and fun.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
Fun fact, I had some organic oats from the Standard Process farm for breakfast this morning.
Oh, you could buy oats from them?
Yeah, so we have what's called the Royal Lee Organics line, kind of going back to the Royal Lee and the founder of the company, to honor him. But we sell our seeds on that line, and we sell other well-sourced organic seeds as well that you can grind. So one of Dr. Lee's inventions, in addition to a lot of the manufacturing equipment and all the other things that I mentioned earlier, he came out with the Lee flour mill. And so we still sell the Lee flour mill to this day. Dr. Lee was very passionate, not just about the supplements, but also getting people to eat right at home. And he put out a lot of education around, the homemaking process, right? And grinding your own flour, not eating store-bought white flour. And so he created this flour mill where you could source your own seeds. And so we do some of that. We sell the mill, we sell the seeds. One of the big projects we've been working on the last couple of years, and you guys probably heard when you were out at the farm, was the Ancient Oat Project.
Yes.
And so the last 2 years, we've harvested ancient oats. We're now milling them and providing them on the Lee Organics line. So you can find ancient oats on the Lee Organics line through Standard Process.
When you say flour mill, you mean like a thing you put on your counter and put grains into it and mill your own flour?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is very interesting.
Do you have one? Do you know how to use it?
Oh yeah.
Is it hard to do?
One. Yeah. My wife makes a lot of sourdough, so we're actually looking at trying like einkorn sourdough, or like just trying different kinds of sourdoughs and stuff like that. So yeah,
I've used einkorn. I've used einkorn. Yeah, but it was so fine that it was for pancakes. I used it to make pancakes, and it made it harder to get the pancakes to be fluffier. They're a little denser, so they didn't cook through quite as well. But that's
always going to be the difference, right? And even with the ancient oats, right, they're going to act a little different than your regular.
So you just have
flour.
to adjust how you bake with it, how you cook with it.
The ancient oats are amazing too. They have like 25 to 45% higher protein levels.
Wow.
When you talk about the nutrient density issue that we're running into, and crops being bred for yield and not nutrient value, our ancient oats, that's one of our greatest examples of us doing that on the farm. So total avenanthromide content, which is like a secondary metabolite to the oat form, is over 800% higher. You look at things like vitamin K is 500% higher, choline's 300% higher.
Wow.
Magnesium's elevated, everything down the list.
I'll get you some oats, Missy.
I was going to say, if I'm a listener of the Digestible podcast and I'm like, where can I get these ancient oats? Where can they get
Royal Lee Organics.
Royal Lee Organics.
Yep.
Okay, you heard it here.
And here's a fun fact, but Standard Process has a pet line and has for a long time.
Oh.
So
nice.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so we worked with one of our practitioners years and years ago. A lot of vets were actually using our human line on animals for a long time, and so we actually designed and formulated products for vet specific dogs, cats. We actually have equine products as well, and so that's the specific line. For your listeners, we also have what's called Spirited Paw. So Spirited Paw is our new consumer veterinary line that they can go and get products like a Calming Comfort Pro, where we use some of the farm ingredients and combine it with other ingredients as well that are good for pets. So that actually is a better recommendation for listeners to just go and directly find Spirited Paw.
That's great. So its own website, Spirit. That's really cool. I'm going to have to check that out. That's awesome.
Jack, here at the Digestible Podcast, we like to ask our guests 2 questions. If you could give our listeners an action item from our conversation today or a takeaway, what would that be?
Oh, yeah. Biggest thing for me is look at where your supplements are made, right? And consider whole food supplementation, right? Because as we're in this nutrient deficiency because we're not eating food anymore, or enough good food. And so the solution really isn't more synthetic nutrients, it's more food. And so I'd really challenge the listeners to go out and find themselves a good whole food supplement, and make sure that they are supplementing those nutrient deficiencies with food.
That's great. That's really good advice. Our next question for you is, here at the Digestible Podcast, we like to say, don't panic, just pivot. Would you be willing to share a change or a pivot you've made in your life that you're proud of?
Oh, yeah. For me, okay, so I've always been immersed in the health and wellness space, right? Growing up with standard process, always getting the proper nutrition and things like that. One of the things that's really been beneficial for me is diving into the other aspects of health and wellness, right? Spirituality, and emotional wellness as well. And so those are two aspects in addition to the nutrition that I think have really changed my life. Implementing a good meditation practice, and things like that have really been, I think, outside of nutrition, something that's really transformed my life. So proud to be healthier all the way around, not just from a nutritional standpoint.
That's great. And
that
so
is
important.
great.
All right, Jack, thanks so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's always nice being with like-minded individuals that are passionate about health and wellness, and I appreciate you guys getting the message out there too, because that's half the battle, right? We can produce really, really great supplements. We can talk about, improving diet and things like that in this current state of our soil and our food. But really, we've got to tell this story and tell this message. So appreciate both of you for doing that and taking the time to get out there and educate people. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you for listening to the Digestible Podcast with today's guest, Jack Dubois of Standard Process. If you like today's episode, please share us with others. It's the best compliment you can give us. If you have questions or comments, please send us an email at info@digestiblestrategies.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And remember, don't panic, just pivot. The content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are not medical professionals, and the views expressed here are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any health conditions. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making any health-related decisions.